or so how can you respond? We've talked about all this dreadful stuff that's happening in various places in various ways. So how can you respond? Because if it's a terrible problem and there's nothing you can do about it, that's kind of a depressing lesson series. So the first thing we're going to do is just to review some common characteristics of Christian nationalism. And these are on your study guide. And pay attention, because in a moment you're going to go on an internet search on your phones or with somebody who has a phone, and you're going to look for two things. You're going to look for something online that supports Christian nationalism, one aspect of it. And then you're going to look for something that refutes it. It says, nope, 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 but not yet. So, first of all, it's a very highly exclusionary and regressive form of Christianity. That's the only true and valid religion. It's trying to go back to some sort of glory days that there, mystically was in the Christian church. If you ask people now, it would probably be the 50s. If you ask people in the 50s, it would have probably been the 20s. If you ask people in the 20s, it would have probably been the 1890s. It's always about 30 years ago, the golden age of whatever it is. Because, the grown-ups it's hard being a grown-up. It's hard being an adult. And you just wish you could go back to like when you were a teenager and everything was good. So you go back about 30 years, and that was the good old days. That's the only true religion. So that leaves a lot of us hanging if we're not very exclusionary or not looking back to some mythical past. We want to, look forward with our religion. The second thing, white supremacy, patriarchy, that means the dudes are in charge, and heteronormativity. That's a big, long word meaning that straight people are the natural order of things. So a white, male, heterosexual dude, that's who should be in charge, because they always have been and always should be. And it's the natural order. I mean, you can look around in the nature, you can look around in the Bible, you can look around anywhere you want to. And if things are like that, things are good. And you have to uphold it by public policy. It's not good enough for people to voluntarily sign up with the Duggar cult or whatever. Everybody has to do it. So it has to be public policy. The correct ways for the United States to exert power over other countries is militarism and violence. You okay, Charles? Let's make sure. Don't want to lose Charles here. That should be your go-to, military and violence, not diplomacy and debate. That's how we should. Hey, is your other half here too? Oh, they're both here. Probably need chairs. Chairs, food. Handouts. I'll get your handouts. Get your handouts.
We got everybody tonight.
Except Ellie. Come on, Ellie. She can't. Her dad's sick. We're just going over the sort of a review of the characteristics of Christian nationalism. I'm getting to the third. Yeah, I sort of got stopped here. So the third one, and as you know, even most military people would say, let's try some diplomacy first, rather than let's send in the troops. People who are in the military know that sending in the troops should be your last resort. It's very costly, not only in human lives, but in money. It costs a small fortune to run a war. This is the reason the United States should do this, is because we're the chosen people, and our country's the chosen country. And why not? That's what we need to do. All these other countries don't know what they're doing. They're socialist, or they're communist, or they're brown or black or corrupt or whatever's wrong. So we got to go straighten them out. The fourth thing, scarcity. There is not enough of anything. Not enough food, not enough space, not enough jobs, there's not enough of anything. Scarcity is the normal thing. And so we, the Americans versus the world, the white people versus people of color, natural born citizens versus immigrants, we're always going to be competing fiercely and without pity to try to get most of the resources that are available. We deserve them. We're the chosen people. We're the chosen country. They should be ours. And this is coming straight from our capitalistic mindset, even though our economy is a mixed economy. People don't see that. So that's just the way it is. There's not enough of anything. Fifth, if a person's already oppressed by something systemic, it's their fault. It's their fault. The reason people are poor, well, they're lazy. They, slept through school. They didn't show up for class. They don't work. They don't want to work. They want to watch TV all day. They just want to sit around on welfare. It's their fault they're poor. LGBTQIA people, it's their fault we have AIDS. Even though in Africa, AIDS is quite equal opportunity infector. They're disrupting the social order. No, how are you going to have a family with two men or two women? Immigrants are criminals and stealing American jobs. Undocumented immigrants in America, once they set foot in America, technically are criminals because the law they just broke is being here. So, but the idea is they're violent criminals, or they're drug dealers, or they're gang leaders, or they're rapists, or whatever they are. And I heard a funny joke. It said, "No, Jack, Mohammed the neurosurgeon is not coming for your job." Mohammed's got his own thing going there. And so those people need to be controlled. They need to be monitored. They need to be, they don't get the same rights as everybody else. They're a big part of the problem. And six, the Bible is the source of moral authority on social issues, all social issues. And it should be used to justify an extremist agenda, no matter what might actually be in the Bible. And as you all know, you can justify pretty well anything if you look hard enough for a scripture verse. And this is from the magazine or the website, The Nation. It's a news website by a woman named Liz Thea Harris, and this was published in 2022. So these are your common characteristics, which we've all seen, we all are aware. So now you got to work. There's a thing in education. It's like, let the kids do the heavy lifting. So that's y'all. And don't talk so much. So I'm not going to talk. So get with a buddy, or if you just are really averse to working with a buddy that has a phone, if you don't have a phone, or, gang up 2 or 3, 4 people together and choose one of those characteristics that we just talked about of nationalism. They're listed at the top of your sheet. And so find something that supports some aspect of Christian nationalism and see what you can figure out about it. Is the image or the statement coming from somebody already in power? Who seems to be the audience? Now, that's usually not the person or group under discussion. Does anything seem to be, I guess we could call it symbolic, but you've also heard the term a dog whistle. A dog whistle, if you blow it, we can't hear it, but the dog can because their ears are better than ours. And so a dog whistle is when somebody's saying something and you're going, oh, okay. But the people who are in the know, they understand that to mean something else entirely, or something it's meaningful to them. Like my email address is annraybon88@gmail.com. My birthday, 88, separates me out from all the other 2 Ann Raybons in the States. I didn't know when I picked it that 88 is a dog whistle. What letter of the alphabet is 8? H. Who's HH, maybe? Heil Hitler. So sorry, it is.
That's the thing about it.
That's the thing about it. I didn't know. It's my birthday. I like my birthday. It's a nice double number. But now I've got my old email and I'm gradually switching it all over because I don't want somebody to misunderstand the 88 in my email. That's a dog whistle. You wouldn't have known except I told you. But you would know if you hung out on internet groups that do that sort of thing. And what might be missing from the images? Most images you see are cropped for publication, whether that's in paper or on the web. You'll see like a crowd of people, but they've cropped it so that that's all the people. You know, it looks like hundreds and hundreds of people are there, and there's really only those 10. But the way the picture is cut, you may not know. So get together with groups. This works better if you have some people to discuss with, 2 or 3 folks, and pick an image, use your phone, research the image as best you can or figure out where it's coming from. And if you want to try a search, you can type Christian nationalist ideas or Christian nationalist,
Christian nationalism.
just Christian nationalism, something will come up.
You'll just go to one of the party conventions.
You could. And there's only one going on right now, Jason. Which one do you mean? And y'all got about 5 minutes to see what you think.
So it's not an in-depth search.
You're doing it kind of quick and just seeing what's there. Now, this is that you're looking for something that's supportive of Christian nationalism. Either one. If you don't want to read, pick a picture. Sure. Yeah, anything.
There is something to say.
Okay, we all talk about it first together, and then we'll share out. Everybody working? Everybody's working.
What's your internet?
Oh, our code here. You want
Here, Jay.
HBCMC, I think is the closest one.
Yes.
You found something.
Working with it.
Is it working, Jay? And do your best to connect what you're finding with one of those characteristics. I mean, it may overlap, but. Works better just to use there. Basketball?
That's
Weights.
water.
Oh, water hammer. I shouldn't have water hammer in a building this new. Like Vanya, Vanya and the peach juice.
She would love that.
Is it peach juice? Yeah. You should start buying peach juice. It'll rot your teeth out too. Of course, you have enamel on your teeth. Okay, got about a minute and a half. Okay. Now, as you might have noticed, there's a wide variety of pictures and such. Did anybody choose the first characteristic, this regressive and exclusionary form of Christianity, and that's really the only religion that's valid? Did anybody find something or look at that?
Do a whole lot of explanation. That's, it appears that Jesus is
More of a symbol.
not necessarily teaching,
Oh,
but a symbol,
oh, okay.
because
I'm kind of missing the point there.
Jesus is a symbol. Much to a lot of the Christian nationalists,
Okay.
Jesus is the symbol. They don't know the details.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they know Jesus, they're on board.
Okay, so just throw the name Jesus out there and we're good to go. Okay. Which, as church people, we know is not quite how it works. Any other people pick that first one to see? Oh, what were you looking at? What was your source or what were you?
We're looking at Wikipedia's definition of Christian national.
Okay, you just went straight to that.
Through all the different countries and what they're.
This is not just an American phenomenon, but we're focusing on America, 'cause that's really the only thing we can do anything about. Okay. The next one, white supremacy, patriarchy, and heteronormativity are the natural order of the world. That is the way things should be, and we need laws to uphold that thought. Did anybody search? Yeah, Jay, what jump out?
We were just looking at, images, end up finding numbers that mean a lot to white supremacists.
Oh, okay. 88.
This is that one, like 109, which is supposedly the number of countries Israel has been expelled from. So that's and then 123, which is 100% white, plus W is the 23rd letter in the alphabet. So
Okay.
we're 122%.
Lots of dog whistles there. And so they're trying to get people, we think alike. This is a signal. It's like the old fish, that the story is the persecuted people would draw fish in the dirt and they knew who their friends would be. First time I heard about that, it was in a Vietnam prisoner of war camp. And I thought, shouldn't the Vietnam guy holding the guy prisoner? There's something wrong here. I was a very hard child in the church.
That's how the guard conveyed to the prisoner that he wasn't his enemy.
Right.
You have to sort.
But he was still holding him prisoner in a torture camp. So I'm like 8 years old going, well, he ain't really a Christian. Well, I know, but I was 8 years old and things are very black and white at that age. All right, anything else with the white supremacy, patriarchy, heteronormativity, or the way things should be, and we need laws to hold that
There
up?
was an article here about a Christian nationalism conference in Texas. The 15th annual anniversary celebration for the True Texas Project.
Hmm.
And their agenda claims there's a war on white America that elevates theories that white Americans are being intentionally replaced through immigration.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely vital that we remember that when they, meaning non-Christian nationalists, say white supremacy or white nationalism or whatever the most recent scare phrase is, they are just mean your heritage and your historical way of life.
And Texas was Hispanic for like most of us, except, wait, we won't go there. Okay, for the first 400 years, it was Hispanic. For the first 16,000 years, it was Indian, but okay. All right, anybody else on the number 2 one? All right, number 3, militarism and violence, rather than diplomacy and debate are the correct ways for the U.S. to exert power over other countries because it is our God-given right to do that. Anybody find one of those?
I don't know if this would be number 1 or number 3, but make America great again.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna force you to do that.
As if prayer can be enforced.
The article we read sort of touched on that. Talking about Putin thanks as one of the global leaders of Christian nationalism. And his activity toward the countries around him sort of takes on this.
And he is majorly supported by the Russian Orthodox Church. They've been in bed together for years. Of course, the Russian Orthodox Church generally supports whoever, the Tsar or the king or Lenin or Stalin or whoever, because they want to stay in power too. Okay. Anything else on militarism and violence as opposed to diplomacy and debate? Hi, Drew. He's trying to be quiet. He's just not very quiet. All right, scarcity. Anybody find a article or picture or something about scarcity? There's just not enough of anything. What do you find, Pat?
Fox News, Jason Waters saying Biden's economic boom is not for Americans, it's for illegal.
Okay.
Biden created 5 million migrant jobs, 5 million jobs, not for people born here, but born somewhere else.
Oh, okay. I think we're free to go sign up to pick tomatoes if we so wish, but I ain't seen a whole lot of people signing up to pick tomatoes. Yeah. And these are the same people who would say a rising tide raises all ships. And on one hand, Biden's a doddering old fool, or he's a mastermind of running the world in secrets. Which is it? Which is it? It can't be both. Pick one. Anybody else? Anybody else find one that was the scarcity idea?
Back to militarism.
Oh, okay.
Country flag.
Yes.
Tell them about it.
Tell us about it.
The country flag, it was back in history.
It's Revolutionary War, I think.
Yeah, took the phrase "an appeal to heaven" from John Locke's arguments against the divine right of kings, but the flag was meant to symbolize the right of armed revolution in the in the face of tyranny. And evidently it's showing up at a lot of Trump rallies.
It is. It is. We want God to help us do whatever it is we want to do.
It's just a white flag with
country on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I try not to keep up with her. All right. So this is blaming the victims, people who are already oppressed by systemic violence. It's actually their fault. Their fate is their own fault. If you're poor, that's the reason for poverty is poor people, gay people. It's your fault that you got AIDS or that their divorce rate is high, whatever. The immigrants are criminals and stealing our jobs, and so on. So anything with blaming the people who are already suffering and oppressed. Somebody pick that
I
one,
didn't find them, but
or something you know of.
there's a popular book that was written about poor people in Appalachia that was very much of that
they stay poor because they don't work. And it was a very misrepresentation of
Mhm.
the situation.
Hard to work if there's no jobs.
Exactly. And it was also aimed at people who have a history of their families being homeowners and literally working themselves to death. Home.
Well, that's what you should do, so you have money.
Right. And it's just so that's kind of been the talk lately because of who all is. But
Mhm.
I read the book, I watched the movie. Then when you really start looking, you start reading other people's input on that, what's going on and
Mhm. Mhm.
it's very bad.
And I mean, bringing coal mines back, people have this visual image of, dirty faced men with their helmets and their lights and digging in the thing. No, that's not how coal's mined anymore. You get a bulldozer, you scrape off the mountaintop, you suck it out and move on. You don't need anybody. You just need a bunch of machines. So, we're not gonna have coal mines of that type. Okay, and then in that very same book, the guy is very clear that it was his grandpa's union job that kept the family afloat.
Yeah.
Very strange. All right, last one. The Bible is the source of moral authority on all social issues and it should be used to justify an extremist agenda, no matter what's actually in the Bible, which kind of touches on Jesus as a symbol. You just shout out the name Jesus and everybody's supposed to go, yeehaw. Anybody find something along those lines?
We're not sure.
It's all right.
I want to say this. Okay. When Trump was doing this,
Mhm.
and I looked and I watched his mouth, and I didn't see him say one word. He said two words. Did you know that? Did anybody see that? I actually saw him say two words.
I didn't hear it.
When Trump,
During the assassination attempt.
yeah, he kept going like this and saying the word, and I kept watching it about 3 times. And they said that he said 5, but
Mhm.
he actually said 2 words. He said 2 words.
What'd he say?
I can't say the word.
What did it start with?
She heard him, she believes that she heard him say, fuck you.
Oh,
First started.
That's what my husband said.
And that's
The
what
minute we said,
it's
you
his
said,
voice.
you say it.
When I can't say it. And the other one was just fine. See, that's my
But
difference.
when he had said that,
He was saying that to everybody.
he's,
Yeah.
he's very even.
And I'm saying that I'm thinking they're lying. I mean, I'm not offended. I just wonder, why would you say, the 2 letters?
I think that's what he says after everything.
I think so.
I
I think
don't know. It was great dinner.
it's happy that they lied because
Yeah.
they were trying to cover it up and not make it sound.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I just can't say the word.
Yeah, and then fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's part of,
Yes.
that's part of what caused this young man, this whole. What,
Journalists addressing. And I wasn't shocked by the assassination.
me neither, that's why nobody's shocked.
But I was blown away by his immediate
Mhm.
gut reaction.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
Yeah,
And to think
we're being oppressed.
that want somebody that would react like that for our president.
Yeah.
And again, if Trump evaporated tomorrow, if it had been successful Saturday, this would still be with us. Still be with us.
Can I say one more thing?
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying to put, anyway, what I'm saying, I've been telling people at that group that there's going to be something, be a miracle, there's going to be something. And the moment I saw that, and he did this thing, I went back again and I said, because he turned his head just a minute, if he left his head like that, it was gone. Head.
Mhm.
Otherwise, he turns into divine problem. It actually hit me. It felt like divine problem.
Well, that's what people will be saying.
That's what they say.
They are saying.
Although the divine providence doesn't apply to the guy who took the bullet and died,
Yeah, the other.
or the other 2 people who are in critical condition.
He felt like man. And the other one. But if he becomes president, I would still, whatever. Anyway, but I had that feeling, way, divine providence. Maybe there's a reason. This is maybe a good thing. And that's scary, yeah.
Mm.
Scary when I think that, because don't care for the guy.
Yeah, and see, I find that very problematic anytime anybody says it about anything. Oh, this class of school children was spared from the shooter. God loves you. Like, but
Yeah.
the other classroom of 40 kids, God didn't like them. What they do? What did the 6-year-old do to tick God off? I don't know.
There's really a little thing there.
It clicks in because that's what we've heard our whole life.
Yeah,
That's what we've heard our whole lives. We kind of have to ask ourselves, is that real? Is that true?
yeah, yeah. But I do feel like his divine providence, I still think there's going to. I don't know. That's what I'm praying for, so people will be right. If it is Trump, I'm fine. It's like my daughter's first husband, she married him. And says, okay, you got him, you married him. So, yeah.
He doesn't have the nuclear codes, though, the first husband. A little less power. All right, now you're going to do a similar thing, except you are going to look for common character or articles or something that refute Christian nationalism. Now, this is a lot easier now than it was 3 months ago. 3 months ago, if you were looking for information about Christian nationalism or what it is or how dangerous it can be, there was nothing there. That's one of the reasons I wrote this lesson plan. There was nothing. Nobody was like saying anything much about it, but it has taken off mostly because of that 2025 document. Now people are going, wait, what? Wait, what? And now they want to know. So let's spend a slightly shorter amount of time, about 3 minutes, finding something that would refute one of those characteristics at the top of your page. It will and it's the same questions. Something that would refute this idea that diplomacy doesn't work, or the idea that there's scarcity in the world, or that the Bible only says these extremist things. We're going to have about 3 minutes this time, so work quick.
Probably put in against Christian.
Something will come up.
You know.
And I've got something here that says several nations officially identify themselves as Christian states.
Mm-hmm.
Argentina, Armenia, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Denmark.
They have official churches that would be a Christian church.
Apparently, I don't know what more about it.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is Denmark would be Lutheran and Argentina would be Catholic. And Armenians would be Orthodox. They got about a minute. So you're looking for things that refute, that go against these concepts of Christian nationalism.
It's the 10 religions for peace, world, civil.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes.
And the fact you're using your phones, it means you're gonna start getting feed about Christian nationalism. Both pro and con. You have to block all of them, sorry, sorry. All righty. Okay, so, let's get like 3 people to mention what they found. What'd you find, Jana?
You can join a group called Christians Against Christian Nationalism. And if you're into this kind of thing, and have a study with people it's Christian. I mean, you can fill in.
And who publishes that?
It's the group is called, that their name is Christians Against Christian Nationalism.
It's part of,
I have to go into it.
it's part of Baptist Joint Committee. It is Baptist Joint Committee. Yeah, they started circulating that about 3 or 4 years ago. I know I signed it way back when, but yes. And that's another reason I developed this unit, because I would contact BJC and say, we need to have some kind of something for lessons and such. And all you would find is sign our petition. It's like, hey, let's do it. But there's more to it than signing a petition. But yes. All right, anything else that's refuting these concepts and these big ideas of Christian nationalism that you found? One of y'all was gonna say something.
No.
Okay.
That refute Christian.
Mm-hmm. That say, no, that is wrong.
Lee Camp wrote a book last year. Lee Camp, he's a professor at Lipscomb
Oh, okay.
in Nashville.
Okay, I don't know who he
Yeah,
is.
that's a scathing criticism of Christian.
Really? And Lipscomb is an extremely conservative school, if I remember correctly. And Paul looked up somebody had asked a couple of weeks ago, who were some religious leaders who were anti-nationalistic.
Rick Warren, pastor of Saddleback Baptist Church. And I forgot to check the date. I don't know if it was before the Southern Baptists kicked his church out or after. But he was asked in an interview about what he thought about Christian nationalism. He said, it's absolutely against everything that we believe. So you were asking about, were there any prominent pastors who were speaking out? There's one.
And the guy, the Board of Ethics guy, Richard Land at Southern Baptist Convention, which finally, what? Russell Moore, sorry. Finally, jumped ship and said, this is wrong. We cannot do this. This is not what Christians are about. This is not what Baptists are about. But it took him forever, although he finally jumped ship. Yes.
Are they firing them? No, or are they going to stay in their church?
No.
If they go against
The bit-
Kevin and I were talking about that today, that Andy Stanley, who is
Charles
Stanley's son, who's pastor of a huge church in Atlanta, made the statement that you could vote Democrat and still be a Christian. And the evangelical right has jumped all over him and condemned him. Now, whether or not that will affect, because he's very popular in his church, whether or not that'll affect his standing in that church, I don't know. But he has really been attacked.
Just attack.
For just saying that.
It's like orientate.
I mean, that was, that's a pretty simple statement thing. And then just today, I found out that on Thursday, the Baptist World Alliance that was had their international meeting in Nigeria, passed a statement on Christian nationalism as a form of idolatry. In Christian nationalism, the gospel of Jesus Christ is reduced to a gospel of earthly political power. Christians who perpetrated
Like your symbol.
Christian nationalism should repent, not celebrate their participation. That's pretty strong.
That's very strong.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, here's some local Christian nationalism thing. You can send your kid to Fairmont Baptist. And there is militaristic imagery, it usually is derived from the whole armor of God thing. But fighter jets and World War I soldiers, for some reason, carrying, I mean, those are World War I guys. I don't know what's going on here. So you can indoctrinate your tiny tot into, and camo, yeah, they made this up themselves. We looked to see which company was producing it. Fortunately, nobody's producing it. It's just something they made up. Oh, that's your Fairmont.
There's a real
It's
phase
this week. It's this week.
this week.
Yeah. Now, I'm not telling you to go over to the Bible school after this meeting. Please don't do that. All right, Bobby, what were you saying, Bobby?
I had a short story about Tara and Robbie and stuff that was going on. And the guy was preaching that day.
Oh.
We didn't have any credentials at all. He was really rude, and Cody and I should have got up and walked out. I don't remember the whole conversation, but it's bad.
Paul's mom got up and walked out one.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't, it's not the question, what he was saying. So Fairmont and, a Fairmont.
This church.
This church, and he was not a preacher, he was not ordained or anything. So in his mind, what he said, he was fussing at us but in the Christian way, wasn't like that. But it just wasn't Christian like. And so we should have walked out, but we didn't, and we stayed and had food, and I said, we just stayed our guns, because we weren't gonna give up. We felt like, well, anyway, it's fun.
So this is not a phenomenon that happens elsewhere. There was this is a couple of years ago, but a woman over in Haywood County got involved with the sovereign citizen movement, and this man had a website where you could print off arrest notices, warrants, print them off, fill them out, and then serve your local officials on corruption, environmental charges, even treason. Sometimes they would call for executions. And these are completely extrajudicial. This has nothing to do with our judicial system. This is just some dude with a website who wrote something up that looks very official. And if you believe that you are not bound by the laws of the nation or the state or the county or whatever, well, sure, let's do this thing. So they faxed the fake arrest notices to the recipients, which is fine. If you're a lawyer, you're going to go, yeah, right. But if you're some person that was not very savvy, or you're elderly, or you're not.
Like the scams that they do.
Yeah, it's a scam. It's a scam. But if somebody read that and said, "Oh, well, there's a warrant out," it basically deputizes the citizenry to go enforce these. And so, if we decided that the preachers over at Hominy were blasphemous, somebody wrote a warrant up, and some nut job saw that your name was on it. How much insurance you got?
It's good.
We have this discussion a lot. How much insurance do you have?
Equal versus balance sheet on.
Oh, yeah. This must be something about the health department, and they targeted health department folks and things like that. But she's in federal prison right now. I looked up her. They don't have pictures for the federal people. I like to look up the Department of Corrections. I find my high school buddies there. This is Hate Watch, which is sponsored by the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which focuses on civil rights. It's headquartered down in Montgomery, Alabama, but there's our state. And why, looky there. That looks a lot like Asheville. The one they have determined as a hate group here, Moms for Liberty. Yes, and that's a nationwide group. This was founded by the couple down in Florida, where they were involved in a threesome and an arrest and all that. So whatever this mom is supporting, I'm not sure I want my kids involved, but Moms for Liberty, basically I want the liberty to tell you how to do your children and through the school systems. But we now have a chapter in Buncombe County, and we need to keep an eye on it. When I first saw that it had formed, I sent out text messages to just about everybody I knew. I think I sent Kristen one, saying heads up. we need to be aware, because they'll try to do book bans. They'll try to do away with any kind of LGBTQ teacher or any teacher that doesn't fit the norm. What?
Diversity.
No diversity teaching. They don't want anything scientific to be taught. They don't want inclusion or diversity or SEL, which is social emotional learning, which is a thing now in schools, since a lot of kids have no clue how to behave themselves. But here we are. So that's,
Was involved.
yeah, I think she's the chair.
Mhm.
She's the chair.
Is it?
Wait a minute, wait, we got everybody talking. So you said who's the chair?
Don't know.
They know, all right.
Is it true, there was a thing going around that said, if your school has at least one parent that's a member of that, you are, what's the word? You don't have to abide by the Title IX, which protects young people's gender choices. Is that, I can't imagine that a governmental rule can be ignored because you got a Moms for Liberty parent in your school.
I would
So
think so.
that's circling around, and that's how they're getting membership. That's how Moms for Liberty is getting membership. Is they're claiming that the more parents a school has in that group, that school doesn't have to abide by.
They could just overturn a federal law. Yeah, good luck.
That's,
Okay.
but that's how they market, and that's how they.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing for.
Yeah,
I read.
when they're not
something
busy with threesomes being arrested.
Today, I think it's today, one of the latest things that groups like that are doing is when they talk about schools, they no longer say public schools. They say government schools.
Mhm. Because that sounds indoctrination.
That sounds like somebody else somewhere else is running your schools, when our schools are really the most locally run thing of anything we have. But they always write government schools instead of public
I'm
schools.
not gonna educate my child and let the government educate my child. Because you gotta watch out for people like me. Yeah. And so if you get rid of that, that leaves the homeschooling people who are from an intact two-parent family whose one person works and the other person can stay home and homeschool, dubious quality education. Or they're wealthy enough to send to private school, which leaves all of our kids growing up to be burger flippers and coal miners and things of that nature. All right, so it's not somewhere else. Steps you can take, and I have a checkoff list, so check at least one thing that you could do. Everybody check the first one, educate yourself. All right, you have to do two. Educate yourself. There are books, there are videos, there are podcasts, there are magazines, websites, courses, radio shows, TV shows. Learn more about the history of the United States. If you need any suggestions, email me or text me and tell me what you're looking for. A website, a podcast, a video, a book, a TV show, whatever. I'll find something for you to do. There's a link, which I love this link. I use it with my kids. This is something called the Interactive Media Bias Chart, and it's updated annually. So there's a bunch of media, make it bigger or smaller. And the closer to the top you are, the more factual you are. I'm trying to get it. Oh, I've got to accept the cookies. Yeah, I'm not subscribed, so it makes it small. But anyway, there's the middle, the balanced bias. This is, well, I can't even click it. Right there, the middle. Let's see if I can get any bigger. Let me just get TV and video. There we go. So if you're looking for television, here's the middle, closest to the top, which means it's vetted. They're fact checking it. They're doing their best not to share inaccurate information. CBS Evening News is at the top. Good old Walter Cronkite still lives today. It's also slightly left, so you're going to get a little bit of leftward bias to it, but it is fact checked. Down here, PBS NewsHour, fact check, it does have opinions on PBS NewsHour, although they're very clear, this is our opinion. And it skews even more left. Over here to the right, Scripps News, something called Early Rush. It's pretty in the middle, so it's fact checked, slightly left. Over here, Fox Business. It's pretty well fact checked. It leans a little bit right, but this is Fox for Business, not your regular Fox News. If you get further and further away from, if you go further and further down to the bottom, it gets less and less fact checked. And if you get further and further over to the left, you get more leftist perspectives. And if you move over toward the right, and we're going to send this link so you can play with it all you want, you'll find other Fox News strong right basis and not very close to the top. Adfontes Media, and this is what they do. This is what they do. If you're looking,
You think they're biased themselves?
that it talks about their methodology. It's very open, and they're telling you how they come to these conclusions. Here are news things. The Weather Channel is very fact checked. It skews a little bit left, probably because they mention global warming every once in a while. If you can read French, you've got Agence France Presse. I can't. Over here is ProPublica, very fact checked, also skews more toward the left. Wall Street, Air Force Times, fact checked, slightly to the right. So there you go, Jay. Jay's an Air Force veteran. So Air Force Times, they're not lying to you. So that's a good thing. What is that? BNO News. I don't know what that is. UPI, the AP, the Weather Channel, probably because they talk about global warming. So that would. Okay, Voice of America, fact checked. I wish Dan was here. He could tell us about it. I don't have a account, so it may not show this. Oh, Epic Times. There it is. It's coming. It's coming. Y'all are all logged into the same Wi-Fi. Now they got to find it. There it is. Very right. Very unfact checked. I wouldn't bother with it. Yeah. So yes, and I think this is all. Oh, this is all of their. I think these are articles that they. I think these are articles that. Oh, these are articles they reviewed to see where they would. Yeah, they actually review the articles. So it's a really good website to make sure you are getting some good information. It's all right if it skews a little left or skews a little right. It's probably good for you to read something from the other side, but please make sure it's at the top of the list because that's the stuff that's fact checked. And you'll get a link when I send out the slide. And Jay's going to send everybody Air Force Time.
Anti-communist Chinese group started it. It showed the Falun.
Oh, Falun Gong.
That Falun Gong, that's their religion. And I believe that's what interviewed for that. So could you tell me something about like these fact check, like PolitiFact? Do you really trust PolitiFact? Is that on the media thing?
It's not a media, so it's not on this.
What do you know about PolitiFact?
Yeah. I mean,
but there are those that you know?
no, and there's nothing really you can do about that. They've decided already that if it goes against what they think, it must be wrong.
Wikipedia is what? Is it what? Wikipedia?
Wikipedia is, I mean, people get on there. I can edit it. I've got an editor account. No, they won't let it stay if it's not right. It's actually fairly accurate. And the best part about it is to scroll down and see all the sources. And we're already at 7:32, so I got about 5 minutes. We got to go.
The Biden, with Trump and Biden, they said they had a fact, and they mentioned some of the places. So
yeah, PolitiFact, SciCheck.
What about Snopes?
I love Snopes. Snopes has been that's the big granddaddy. It's an OPES. Snopes. All right, next thing to do, and this is the first thing you've already checked. This is another thing. Name this problem. Stop nodding and smiling at your relatives. In conversations, you can say, well, I don't want to argue with you, but that sounds like Christian nationalism to me. see it that way. Paul provided this statement. I'm like, just shut up, you're stupid. You don't know nothing. You don't have to laugh at jokes or at funny comments that promote or support Christian nationalism. If you've ever done any kind of therapy, you know what a gray rock is. It's how you deal with a narcissist. You just, yeah, you don't respond in any way. They get no reaction out of you. They lose interest and they leave.
Because a narcissistic does not know he's a.
Probably not. Probably not. Just that's what the gray rock term comes from. If somebody starts ranting or raving, you can just kind of. And you can also ask, what do you mean? Women know this is an excellent thing to say when you get some kind of sexual comment. It's like, what? What are you, what is that? I don't know what that word means. What are you talking about? And then they're like, and then they get more and more into it. You know what it means, but it's a very good way that women throughout history, I mean, there's probably cave women go, and so. Use social media for good. Share and upvote and like posts that oppose Christian nationalism. Be careful. Research first, then click, and write some of your own posts as well. You can write a letter to the editor of the print newspaper. I know there's nobody subscribing, but elected officials still read it. Well, there's so they only do it on Wednesday. Used to you'd get it every day. But the elected officials do read those, so just to get the pulse of what's happening. Contact your elected officials directly. Don't use a form letter. They do like email, but don't use a form email. Well, try. Donate to organizations that counter Christian nationalism or to organizations that assist people who are targeted. You may not know any, there's all kind of movements of bail reform, Black Lives Matter, anything that people who are being targeted and treated badly or will be treated badly in Christian nationalism, get some money, help them out. Vote for candidates and ballot initiatives. Sometimes these are called propositions or referendums that take a stance against Christian nationalism or seek policy changes to help people who are targeted. You're going to need to research candidates and initiatives carefully to detect the ideas of Christian nationalism. Sometimes it can be very subtle. Joe was talking, why does he feel so uncomfortable when somebody says, aren't you in favor of posting the 10 Commandments? And Joe's like, they're like, but aren't you a good Christian? You're like, yeah, but that's not how I do it. It's subtle. Volunteer for organizations that counter it or with organizations that help people who are targeted. You may also need to research them carefully. This is not an example for Christian nationalism, but if you look up crisis pregnancy help, and you're thinking, I need to get rid of this baby, you are going to find, first of all, many organizations that say they will support you in your crisis pregnancy, but all they want to do is prevent you from having an abortion. They're like, we'll give you money, we'll help you, blah, 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 blah. But then when the baby comes, they're out. Yeah. So not that that's a Christian nationalism thing, but you got to be careful and you got to support it or research it very carefully, because it may look like it's something okay or that is okay, but it's not. And then if you're real brave, run for office. Even if you win an unopposed seat on the water board, a Christian nationalist will not be on the local water board. or the soil group. Or the soil group. I mean, we have all these strange committees and things that we can run for office, and sometimes they are desperate for somebody to run for them.
You actually don't have to run for office for a lot of them. The county has a bunch. I used to know the number of different boards and advisory groups that they're always desperate for people to be a part of.
From the community to put your input.
Basically, you have to sign up, and I don't even think you have to pass a background check. I think
they're so desperate.
The first 14 you sign up, get it.
Yeah.
But there are some places where you can have a voice.
And this is how our government is set up to have a voice, not march on the Capitol. Go volunteer to work for the Board of Elections during Election Day. It's eye-opening, isn't it?
No joke.
Yeah, it's no fun and it pays poorly, but it's worth
Yeah.
better you there than somebody who's gonna make up stuff. More things to educate yourself. I'll send this to you and you can click all the links you want to. Then churches as a group, and then I'm kind of gonna let Paul take some of this. Educate your congregation through studies, including book studies. Evaluate your teaching and communication. Make sure you're not accidentally expressing any kind of Christian nationalist views, especially with images. I was looking for images the other night and I was looking for a family at a picnic. Every dadgum family was white. It's like, really? Can I get some non-white family at my picnic? They're cartoon people, but still. What are people wearing? Is the person in a brochure a person who needs to be in the brochure or on the website? Add some messagings to your communications. Not only that we don't like Christian nationalism here, but what is the church doing to help people who are targeted, the poor, the needy, the homeless, really you're countering that, well, it's their own fault narrative. And include some viewpoints from people who are targeted by Christian nationalism in your worship and programming, which I guess is Reverend Melissa could tell you. I guess y'all do that all the time. But nonetheless, there are things that can be done. And you want to see if anybody
Well, questions or
has a
thoughts?
question or thoughts that something the church could do as a whole to do something.
I think as individuals, there's a place in the Bible where it says, be prepared to give an explanation of what you believe in. I think that applies in this case too. I don't think it's helping matters to just shrug and walk away. That's a good and strong response. But you have to think of it ahead of time. How am I going to explain myself? Because people will ask stupid questions like, don't you think we ought to support 10 commandments in the classroom? To tell them why. Be prepared to explain why. If you don't do that, then they've got nothing to walk away and think about.
They won, or they were not countered. You don't have to be mean or ugly.
Yeah, just a brief to the point. I always have a little burn on myself when other people like, we ought to be prepared to go to war and do all this stuff. I get really annoyed with people who say that because they're not planning to put on uniform to do it.
Yeah.
They want to say.
Because Doug was a Marine, so y'all can take it to the parking lot later.
But it is.
Yeah.
And usually the people that are gung ho about war have never been. Yeah.
What's the scariest thing for you right now?
The future. I'm glad I'm as old as I am now.
You're going to punch her ticket.
I'm actually distressed because what I've always considered the most awesome thing I ever did was produce Will and Kate. Might be the worst thing I ever did for them. And that's a really hard feeling.
This is why we have viewers like Christian, our weeks, I mean, when she reads and she's not very cheery with you right now.
It's a hard hobby.
The scariest thing to me is that all this stuff is on video. Everything is on video. It's proven facts, and these folks can still say that's not true. They can still say that that's an opinion. That's not a fact. It's an opinion. That's an opinion, and it's on video. Proof. It's proof. And so it's like
That's sort of the beyond good and evil. It's okay because so and so did the thing. You don't really there's no moral judgment either way, because if this person does the thing, then it's cool. Or if this group does the thing, then it must be okay.
I did hear something new last night that I hadn't heard before. And it was from this woman who is working to I'm not sure the exact word. I'll say deprogram young people who are already becoming radicalized. That is her expertise. And she tries to work with them to help them pull them back from the edge. And she said facts don't do a bit of good. The fact that facts will not help at all in the conversation. Because, so she said what she did, and I did some more research to see what all was involved in this. Is she tries to help them see how they have been manipulated.
People don't like being
And
manipulated.
nobody likes to be manipulated. And then she's learned, it's kind of like some of this where you can see, well, take a look at this. And do you see that this person said this because it causes you to do this? And this sound like a school teacher kind of thing, too.
This
But
school teacher does that.
Yeah. To help them see that they're being taken advantage of by this. And they had a recorded conversation, and the guy's first response was pretty negative. But she kept working with him, and she stayed in conversation with him. And apparently they're having some success in that. So that's a thought that may be helping people to see that the people who are leading this really don't have your best interest in heart. They're using you. They're using those dog whistle things to get folks riled up.
You're a tool.
You're a tool.
In many ways, President Trump is a tool. He doesn't know about this theological underpinning. He doesn't know. And as soon as he ceases to become useful, they'll find the next one, but they could do away with him.
Do you know much about Steve Bannon and Roger Stone?
They're crazy.
Well, I often saw him, there's a puppet, there's a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are far more bright.
He's dangerous.
They are far smarter, and they have a more deeper understanding of what they are trying to do. Yes, they do. They do.
In the days following the debate, all that was in the news primarily was talking about Biden's poor performance, which it was. And I knew 5 minutes in, and it's.
But you didn't try to punch anybody out when somebody pointed that out to you.
But, how many news broadcasts, they may have just casually mentioned Trump's many, 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 many lies, but it wasn't ever a focus. It was Biden's age and the problem there.
28 lines.
Per minute?
Spoke out
Yeah.
there too, saying, why isn't that in the news more? All the lies he told in that.
Because we don't expect that from Biden. We expect lies from Trump, so it's not news. We expect Biden to be compassionate and like he is, and he wasn't.
Scares me is that even with one person, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard something that was hopeful yesterday. A friend of ours, well, acquaintance, we've known her for a long time. Anyway, he wrote an article. I can't remember what the article was about. The article was, it was in response to the assassination attempt that we've got to do better by our kids, because that there's a 20-year-old who's at that point in their life, we have failed them. So that was the dark part. The good part was that she was talking about that in a certain kind of theology called process theology, which I don't completely understand. But one of the points of it is that life with God, God's way of doing in the world, is not on a single trajectory that this is what is going to happen, but it is always affected by a little change that makes everything else different. And the example is Jesus. That the world was going this direction, and God introduced Jesus into the equation, and it changed everything. And so we should never forget that that's how God works. That a little thing can change the trajectory completely. So what we think of is everything's going in the same direction, and that's the way it's going to go no matter what. that doesn't,
It's very fatalist.
that doesn't bind God. We don't have a fatalistic God. That little things can make a huge difference.
Just like COVID, boom, change. Then now the results are these, the.
I think she's talking about more intentional things, not just things that happen, but somebody being intentional. And saying there is a different way.
Who would be the.
Martin Luther King, Jesus,
The teacher who tracks, she used an Excel sheet, and every Friday she would ask her kids, who do you want to play with next week? Who do you want to sit with next week? And so the children would answer. They thought that was cool. And sometimes she would honor their request, but that wasn't what she was looking for. What she was looking for was the children nobody chose. And she made sure those children also had somebody to sit with and somebody to play with. And she started doing that after Columbine.
that's the kind of,
That's a tiny thing, but that's the kind of thing that any people can do.
Sounds like that's what.
Mhm.
with so many. That's what my friend's article is about. There are many, many, many young men out there.
Called disaffected. And when you hear disaffected, it means they don't have emotions. Your affect is your emotional state. So a disaffected person doesn't feel anything. Okay, last thing, I get to say the last thing.
You can say,
Whenever Americans study World War I, II, or the Holocaust, or Anne Frank, or Corrie ten Boom, or read books, or watch movies or TV shows about the fascist era, we often say to ourselves, if I'd been there, I would have known what was coming. I would have spoken out. I would have resisted. I would have done everything in my power to stop this madness. Well, your time has come.